Wrestle this python, okay?
We have a present for you. Hi, Greg. How are you? Nice to see you.
We're going to make Python Club.
They want to get a picture or two with you here with this snake.
You gonna do it?
Yeah, it's calm. It's
Yeah,
fed.
is it? All right. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Huh?
Jake the Snake.
Now this one's snake.
You gotta, I think you need to wait for the photos. All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming. I want to thank. Can you move a little bit that way? I want to thank you guys for coming. Obviously, we have Alligator Ron is here. We have our FWC chairman here. I think is Rodney here. Yes, Rodney Bretto, FWC. We got South Florida Water Management. We have Chauncey, Jackie, and Cheryl Meads are all here, so thank you. Obviously, Eric Sutton, Noah Valenstein. As you may imagine, we're here to talk about ongoing efforts at supporting the Everglades. We've done an awful lot, as you know, but one of the issues that has really been a problem are these pythons. They're not native to this area, and they're an incredibly invasive species. And as these pythons have permeated through, they've really disrupted the natural food chain balance. They've threatened endangered species, they've decimated other animal populations, and they're disturbing the ecosystem and threatening the biodiversity. And there's no natural predators for these. In fact, I mean, they can eat small alligators even. And so they've been multiplying. We've been advancing python management policies for several years. There's been some success, but we need to do more. And so we are here to announce some of the next steps that we're taking. As you know, the Big Cypress National Preserve is largely inaccessible for python removal. I've spoken with the Secretary of the Interior, and he has agreed we are going to go forward with an access plan for python removal in Big Cypress. The details are being worked out, but that is going to happen. And so I appreciate the U.S. Department of Interior working with us on that. But we also want to do more here in Florida. So FWC, Department of Environmental Protection, and the Agriculture and Consumer Services Department have just executed an agreement to allow for the removal of pythons in all state parks where pythons are found. So that's over 130,000 additional acres. And then between South Florida Water Management, FWC, and DEP, I am, as my administration, we're committed to doubling the resources for python removal in the upcoming year. And so hopefully that can, part of it is research, trying to figure out the best way to identify these pythons, and then obviously being able to remove them with contractors or however you do it. And then I'm also directing FWC and South Florida Water Management District to collaborate to do a number of things. One, make sure their python removal training programs are interchangeable. If you qualify with FWC, you should qualify with South Florida, and vice versa. Share and jointly pursue research on new technology to help detect and remove the pythons. Jointly host a Python Challenge every year. Right now they've been doing every 3 years. I think that we could get people interested in doing this. Develop agreements with local governments to expand access for state python removers on lands owned by local governments. Engage the public through a targeted education and outreach campaign that focuses on the importance of removing pythons from the Everglades, and create additional incentives for our veterans to get involved in python removal. So I think that there's been some good steps taken. We're stepping up more. We will obviously have the announcement with the Interior once that is done. But I think if we can continue the momentum, then we're going to be better off here to try to protect the Everglades. We're putting a lot of money into restoring the Everglades. Want to make sure that ecosystem is strong. And so with that, we'll have, I think Ronnie's going to come up, and we'll hear from a couple other folks. So yeah. You want to come up?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Governor.
Yep.
Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to the beautiful Everglades, one of the natural wonders of the world. I want to thank Governor DeSantis for his commitment to the Everglades restoration and harmful python disrupts the natural food chain. And without a natural food chain, you cannot have a healthy environment. Together with the governor's strong investment in saving the Everglades, we can help preserve this incredible ecosystem for generations to come. I'd like to recognize the Everglades Foundation that I see this here, the Everglades Trust, Eric Eichenberg and Kimberly Mitchell. Also like to recognize Drew Bartley, our Executive Director at South Florida Water Management. Also like to thank the governor for his appointment. It's been a great honor for me to sit on that board and look to the future of all Floridians. Also want to recognize Everglades National Park, Justin Erger, and Commissioner Spotswood, the chairman of the FWC, Rodney Beretta, and congratulations, Rodney. And want to thank Pedro Ramos for working with us. Under the governor's request and leadership, we have come up with a plan. And basically the plan is to increase the expert hunters with South Florida Water Management and increase the hunters with our FWC. Over the past 2 years, since April or March of 2017, they have removed over 3,000 pythons out of the Everglades. And that does not count what the public is doing outside of our state agencies. And it doesn't count the 50 that I caught 4th of July weekend either. I did that just for you, Governor, okay? When you say go, we go. But, you know, we're working with Everglades National Park and the Big Cypress Preserve to have additional access into remote areas that we've never been able to get into before. And I want to thank our federal partners for working with our state agencies and the governor to be able to get into these very remote areas in the Everglades. So basically the important thing under the governor's leadership, we're going to make a difference. And we're going to increase the pressure on a snake that is actually destroying all of our natural food chain in the beautiful Everglades. One other partner that we need the public. We need all of you. So what I have to say to the Gladesmen, the culture of a lot of people I grew up with here, and the fishermen, and the hunters, and the bird watchers, and the hikers, the photographers, the bike riders that enjoy this beautiful environment. When you see a snake, and if you have the expertise, we need your help. It's all about we, and we can do it together. And I want to thank all of the people that have been so involved in removing the python out of this beautiful environment, and long live the Everglades.
Long live the Everglades.
Since March and April of 2017.
Well, thank you, Alligator Ron and Governor. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'll be quick. I know it's hot and a lot's been said, but as an ecologist, the Burmese python is an ecological challenge for sure. And Governor, I really appreciate you supporting. There's a lot of folks that will say you can't get in there and manage them. You can't control them. We're not going to get there. Well, that's not going to be our attitude moving forward. Now, when I say our attitude, I mean all of the partners. And as Alligator Ron said, it depends on everybody helping. So we will not relent. We will employ technology. We will employ these hunters. And Governor, thank you for the challenge. The challenge is accepted. Now, Secretary Valenstein.
Thank you, Governor, for your leadership. I'm not sure whether I'm sweating because it's hot out or because there's a snake 2 feet from me. I'll say one of the things I appreciate about your leadership, Governor, is that as we get together, it doesn't matter which agency is taking the lead. The question is, what's the goal, right? Protecting our environment and making sure for DEP's front, for the 175 state parks that we're stewards of, and for the lands that we're acquiring to protect for future generations for Floridians under your leadership, that it shouldn't matter who's doing the managing, that we're working together as FWCC, as the Water Management District, to make sure that we don't just acquire lands that need to be preserved, but that we're taking the actions to make sure we're preserving them. And certainly managing invasive species like the Burmese python is critical to protecting the resources we manage. So Governor, thank you for your leadership.
All right, I'm going to get in the middle. We'll do one picture.
Yeah, hey, you don't want the head? Governor, you don't want the head?
Over there, Noah.
No, right here is good. You got it? That is a big boy. Holy cow.
This ain't big.
Man. All right, you grab?
You good?
And long live the Everglades.
All right. Okay, we'll take a question or two, you guys. Anybody? For any of us?
There's an issue the president is addressing today. It's going to two locations in the country. Florida is not immune to such activity behavior. What are you doing to help strengthen some of the softer targets here in the state?
Well, there's, as you know, the legislature has done a lot before I got in, and then we got tens of millions of dollars for funding for things like school security, which I think is important. But then we've also, early on in the administration, I tasked Florida Department of Law Enforcement for developing a proactive threat assessment strategy for dealing with some of these people, because when you read the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas report, if they went back and looked at a lot of these incidents, and the vast majority of them had red flags that were not heeded. And so the threat assessment posture is using a lot of different tools, including things like data analytics, to be able to identify this, and when red flags are there, to act. And so, you know, the legislature passed this red flag for people who are not mentally capable or dangerous. Well, if you're doing a good job of threat assessment, then you're able to put that information into the legal system. So I think that is necessary, because you look, we've had crime decline in this country for a number of years, which is great, but then you have these types of things which I think have to be treated differently. The approach needs to be different. So we're in the process of doing that, but I think there's a lot you can do working in collaboration with different agencies and utilizing some of the resources of the private sector. And you're right, I mean, obviously Florida has had its share, but I'm happy some of the folks from Parkland have been instrumental in pushing for some of these reforms, particularly with threat assessment, and I think that is really a direction we need to go. Anything else?
Can you talk about why you ordered the state investigations into the Jeffrey Epstein matters in Palm Beach?
Sure. Well, as you know, I mean, obviously the Epstein, there was a plea agreement that was hatched, I think, at the end 2007-8 time period, conduct involving really from, I think, 2002, 2003. This has now been back into the news with other revelations. New York obviously has brought a case in the Southern District. There was the issue of when he was on, first he got this light sentence, and then he was on work release, and the idea, the possibility was that he was abusing more women, young girls, during the time he's on work release. And so the sheriff had started to investigate that in Palm Beach, and then he asked me, just given the sensitivities involved, if I would consider doing FDLE to take it over, just because they don't have a dog in the fight. And so they did that, but then as I looked at it, I was like, you know, just that investigation really isn't enough. There's a lot of irregularities surrounding this. Now, there's some statute of limitations issues, but to the extent you can go in consistent with statute of limitations, you know, I want to hold as many people accountable as we can if they deserve it. And so we assigned the state attorney out of Martin County, again, the no connection to Palm Beach, and they'll be working with FDLE to investigate. And obviously, I think would have been better to just have this done the right way the first time, but that's not what happened. Yes.
Back to the snake, you know, a lot of the 3,000 pythons that Mr. Bergeron mentioned were caught on these levees here. Alligator Ron was involved with, I know, capturing 2 on the tree islands out here. They're miles and miles from the road. We have some trappers here in this audience. They can't get very far out
of our
will
plan.
help. It will help a lot.
I think Ronnie's going to address that in his plan, and then we'll see. But I do want to thank all these guys. I mean, you know, Ronnie obviously knows this better than anybody. He and I told them early on. I mean, we were obviously focusing on a lot of the things we've already done in terms of the resources and everything with Everglades. I was like, we got to get these pythons, and he said he would do it. Noah and Eric have worked great together. And, you know, then I got Rodney. You know, we were talking about these pythons. I was like, you need to be on FWC because you know what you're doing, and this is something that you're concerned about, and I'm concerned about it as well. So I just want to thank all these folks for doing it. And you know, I look back, I don't know how these things got into the Everglades. I mean, I heard like people say, oh, Hurricane Andrew may have done it or whatever. But bottom line is, it's taken a big toll. So this is us fighting back. And I think if you've looked at the thousands that have been done, you know, we're going to have more access, I think, with the agreement with the Interior, and then they're going to step up some of their efforts. So if we can increase that, we may get to a point where, you know, we're making some really good headway, and that's what we're trying to do. So thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Governor.